you today? Does this water taste good? Where do you think water comes from anyways, puppy?
Hey, Naomi.
Hi, Mr. Oakley. Didn't see you there. Do you know how this water gets here?
That's a good question. Clean water matters to all of us. It's part of everyday life here in Jamestown. I don't have all the answers, but I know the people who do, and they take that responsibility seriously. You should talk to Mr. Flory at the water plant.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Oakley. Bye, Sadie Mae.
Hello, you must be Naomi. I hear you have some questions about our water.
I'm just confused how the water gets cleaned.
Okay, clean water is a big job. Let me show you how it works. Come on. It works best when we work together and hold ourselves to high standards. So you kind of see, see how these particles right here are kind of rising up? I work with a lot of people to make it happen in Jamestown and in nearby towns and cities. We test it all the time at multiple points in the process. We follow strict rules and we plan ahead so we're ready for what's next. We've been working to address forever chemicals for quite a while now.
You mean PFAS? We learned about that in science class.
Yeah, PFAS. It's a nationwide issue. Communities everywhere are working on it, and so are we. We're studying different treatment methods and learning what works best, carefully, deliberately, and with the future in mind.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work.
It is, but we all care about Jamestown, and we all want clean drinking water. You know, the work I do is not only for the community. I drink this water too, and I'll do everything I can to make sure it's fresh and safe.
Who else helps?
All kinds of people. Engineers like me, water plant operators, lab techs, repair crews, scientists, and all of our public works staff. Everyone has a role. You know what? You should meet Miss Skinner. She's over at the municipal building. I'll let her know you're coming.
Hi, Mr. Flory said I should come meet you.
I'm Jessica. I work for the town of Jamestown. I'm one of the people residents see when they come in.
What do you do?
We help residents navigate public services such as water and sewer, garbage and recycling. Lots of people play a part. Like Garrett here, he's one of our water specialists.
I'm one of the people who helps keep the water system running day to day and make sure it stays strong over time so that we all have fresh, clean water.
We're always working to improve our water systems. When you pay your water bill, you're supporting that work. And you know what else, Naomi? We're always here to help.
Because clean water is for everybody.
That's right, for everybody.
Even for pets?
Especially for pets.
So that's how it works.
Sounds like a pretty good system.
Whoa, all that just to give Sadie Mae a drink of clean water.
Well, Sadie Mae loves fresh water, and somebody's got to keep her happy.
If anyone ever has any questions, we want them to ask so that everyone understands how our water works.
Good evening, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order and stand please for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a moment of silence, please. Okay, and we're going to have a roll call. We'll skip that one.
Councilmember Glanville?
Here.
Councilmember Gibson?
Here.
Mayor Dickinson?
Here.
Councilmember Burgess?
Here.
Councilmember Westmoreland?
Here.
A quorum is present.
Okay. The agenda, does anyone have any changes or anything they'd like to add?
Mayor, yes. Item J on the consent agenda, budget amendment number 6. That is the $20,000 request for gas, and I do have additional questions on that. I don't know if we want to amend it or remove or defer. Council?
We open for discussion?
Maybe, are there questions about that for the manager and town?
Yeah, so yes, I do. So Matthew, the $20,000 for the gas. I would like additional information as to the tracking on the gas. I do understand that the prices for the gas have gone up. However, I would like to have additional information regarding the amount of trucks or vehicles using the gas, or how that works. Is there tracking, how it's monitored?
Sure. So we do monitor all of our fuel consumption. Every time somebody fills up a piece of equipment or vehicle or something that uses fuel, they monitor that by putting that information down on a fuel log. It has the name of the equipment, the person that's taking dispensing the fuel, number of gallons dispensed, and then the meter readings that are off of the meters that are on the fuel tank themselves. This particular budget amendment is for the Parks and Recreation Department.
Oh, that is number 6? Yeah,
again?
isn't it under there?
So a lot of that is mowers, weed eaters, the small trucks and things that they use to move stuff around on the golf course and park. Does that help answer the question?
So, because it appeared to me, it looked like it was just the vehicles for the gas. So you're saying that the gas is used for the other things at the parks and rec?
Right.
That
Mowers,
require
weed
gas?
eaters, all of their equipment, backhoe, trying to think of all the different things they have out there, all the different equipment they have out there to maintain golf course and parks.
I have a question because I noticed that the annual cost for the gas for the town, for all, across departments over the past 3 years was about, let's see, $83,000 in '23, $94,000 in '24, back down to $83,000 in '25. But this one doubled to, through the end of May, it's at $137. So if we had 20,000 more, it is double. It's like 157,000. Why so much more in this year? Because I look at
Cost of fuel has increased significantly over the past 6 months or so.
Well, I looked at that too, and I saw that the average price of gas in Greensboro for 2023, $3.45 to $3.50. 2024, $2.95 to $3.45. 2025, $2.79 to $3.10. January through May of '26, $3.60. That doesn't seem like a significant increase to me. It just looks like a whole lot more, like double the amount of fuel that's being used. And again, it's another, another 80,000 here, or another on top of what was spent last year. And, it's just one of those expenses that we need a little bit more information for to understand what's going on. Not necessarily that we're questioning how you track it or what's being done, but so why these huge increases? So when something either is double what it was the year before, I think it just sends up a flag. So I think I too would like to know a little bit more about how the gas is being used here. And also, I feel the same way about the tank. I feel like we shouldn't authorize another gas tank until we know how the gas is being.
What are your proposals?
Is there any need to address this tonight in terms of the year-end budget?
Yes, for the
Okay.
budget amendment, yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure I follow or track what the council is asking for in regards to tracking fuel consumption. It is the cost of doing business. We maintain our facilities, we pick up garbage. If you want to give me clear direction on what
I think
you're
that we
looking
just want to
for.
know, I think
The
we just want
policy,
to know.
maybe?
Yeah, how did you come up on the $20,000? I mean, that's your approximate, but we don't have information in regards to how many, vehicles use that, or, like you did say the equipment at the park, but, I mean, we have nothing.
I mean, if you want us to give you a full asset list of every piece of equipment we have, we can work on doing that. I'm not sure I'm trying to find out what outcome you're looking for.
I think that would be great. Maybe that should be our goal going forward, is to really focus on finding out what vehicles we have here and how they're used and how much gas they use. I mean, I think that's a fair thing to ask. I mean, I know it would take some time. I'm not saying right away, but I don't feel comfortable approving the 20,000 unless it means there's going to be some trucks stalled that can't operate through the.
It's going to be an issue with our auditor at the end of the year. We can't expend funds in a negative. So we have to have the funds in the line item to be able to expend them. So I guess we could park all the vehicles for the next few weeks.
No, that's not what we're asking. That number was just kind of like given to us recently. So, I mean, that's a concern for me. I mean, just wondering where it comes from.
Because, I mean, 20,000, so that would, I guess it's for the month of May because the new budget starts July 1st and we will be appropriating a whole new year.
See if I can help this out. Like we're doing with the annual budget right now, we take a guess as to what we think the fuel consumption would be based on what we've used in the past. When prices fluctuate, we're subject to those fluctuations as well. And Faith is trying to make sure that we're staying ahead of that by doing the budget amendment now, so that we can continue to operate correctly on the right side of the accounting.
But if the budget passes, then July 1st, you have a new budget with a whole new year of gas appropriated in a week. Would that not just sort of cancel?
So I think we're, just understanding what Matthew and I guess Faith are sort of talking about. The fact is they do need to balance the budget out for the year-end calls. But, like you said and Councilmember Burgess has said, going forward, I think with these kinds of budget adjustments, we need more detail about what's driving that number. It's plausible that fuel prices have increased. It's plausible that you had more use of fuel back when we had the winter events compared to last year. But we just need more detail, I think is what they're asking for.
Yeah.
But I think I understand the whole accounting point of it. I don't have any problems with that.
Okay. Shall we move on then?
Yeah. The only other item that I had on the agenda was, when I looked through the packet, I will say not as familiar with sort of the whole updated strategic plan. There's things in there that were listed when I look back at our work session that we had where we developed the priorities. There were things there that were listed. We had as priorities that weren't on the list, and there were things there that were not our priorities that were on the list. So I'm a little still unclear, confused about the priorities that are listed there and some of the things that we're doing with that. So I would just, effectively ask the council to consider deferring that until we get more information. Maybe have another, either at the next meeting we can talk about it. There's no real requirement for us to adopt the strategic plan as we adopt the budget tonight. So I just like some more information. I'm not really clear on the priorities that are listed there, and just when I saw that inconsistency between what we had done in our session versus this, I was like, no, let's delay until the next meeting.
Yeah, I agree with that. There were some few edits, misspelled words too. Yeah, let's delay. Go ahead. You want to make a motion to delay the?
I make a motion that we delay or defer the adoption of the strategic plan to our next council meeting.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. And then as far as the remainder of the consent agenda, if we keep budget amendment 6 in, with the understanding we're just going to work on getting some more detail.
You'll be able to provide additional after.
Sure.
Okay, good.
We'll work on that with you.
All right, so does anyone want to make a motion to approve?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Can we
Go ahead,
can
go ahead.
I make a motion to add a proclamation declaring June 19th as Juneteenth in the town of Jamestown?
Yes.
Add that to the
second.
consent agenda?
Yep, I second.
Favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that,
And now I'll move the consent agenda for adoption.
and I'll take a second for that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty, we're going to move on to public comments. And I guess, do we have anyone signed up?
Sharon Hovis.
Good evening, board members. I don't normally come to your meetings. I've been here since 2013 over at 215 Misty Waters. I'm coming here because I am a former council member, a retired chief of police, a veteran from the Army, one stint overseas. I've had to, I was your magistrate for Guilford County for a while. I work for your legislator now. I'm in here because I just feel it's necessary to remind the council that it is your due diligence to make sure that you do what you're doing right now and ask the questions to the manager that you should. Because I know when I called him, he couldn't give me any answers. The only answer he ever gave me was, you call the sheriff department if you feel there's a problem on Dillon Road, or you can call the state. So, which I did. I called the sheriff department, which they did step up, and they did put a speed limit out there for me off of Dillon. I'm sure everybody in here is aware about the Parkway Drive up there, Indianapolis up there. And all I can tell you is they do the best they can, the sheriff department. I'm not saying that because I'm former law enforcement. I'm saying they're doing what they can, but somewhere in there, the sheriff department's got to do, the town's got to step up too. We got a downed tree over on Dillon Road right now. Nobody's tried to pick that up, and other people have been running over it. I'm sure somebody's come up here and complained about how it hit a car yesterday. I actually watched it happen. Somewhere in there, instead of just steady looking at the staff, because that's what I see on these YouTube, the manager always looking at the staff, but you're not looking out for the people who's the reason why you get a paycheck. But at the same time, too, council members, you need to keep doing this part. You need to keep asking him questions. Don't make it be where he can put it off and say, well, it's for this, it's for that. Have it in writing. I was a former council member. They have to do their due diligence of providing that information. But you guys need to do that due diligence of where we voted you in. And Mr. Gibson, I don't know. I watch you too. I don't know what's going on. I don't know, and you know what I mean. I don't know. And town attorney, I don't know where you've been. And Miss Faith, you don't know me from a can of paint. All you know is I'm troubled. And the only reason why I'm troubled is because I'm resourceful. And all I'm going to tell you is I'm a double-edged sword. I can be the person that can help you, or I can be the person that'll give you some trouble. And that's just because I know where you sit. I've sat where you are. I've been where he is. And I live over there. And I'm not just saying this, I'm watching you guys. I will be here at every meeting. Do your due diligence, because we voted for you.
Thank you, Ms. Warren.
Robert Garland.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the Town Council. My name is Robert Garland, and I am here this evening to thank you for doing what is often a thankless job and for keeping the priorities of Jamestown citizens at the center of your decision-making. Thank you for being willing to ask the difficult questions and challenge long-standing assumptions to ensure your decisions are truly in the best interest of the people you are elected to serve. Over the last several months, I have heard a great deal about budgets, compensation, reserves, staffing, contracts, and taxes. But the heart of all of these questions is a simple question. Who does local government ultimately serve? Our town employees perform valuable work and they deserve fair compensation and quality benefits. However, they also have received significant pay increases over the past several years, along with benefits that many private sector employees would be fortunate to receive. At a time when many families are facing higher costs and economic uncertainty, government has the responsibility to balance the needs of employees with the needs of taxpayers. I believe the cost of living adjustment included in this budget strikes that balance. It recognizes employees' contributions while respecting the citizens who ultimately fund this government. The same principle applies to the sheriff's contract. This is one of the largest expenditures in our budget, and a contract that has existed since 1991 should not be exempt from review simply because it has been in place for decades. I commend this council for asking tough questions and seeking greater transparency regarding costs and services. Reviewing a major contract is not an attack on law enforcement. It is the responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars. The same is true for our reserves. I agree that reserves should not be used to balance the budget. They exist to provide stability and prepare for unforeseen circumstances. However, reserves should also be reviewed regularly to ensure that they are being managed effectively and earning an appropriate return within the limits allowed by law. Taxpayers deserve to know that every public dollar is working hard as possible on their behalf. The easiest thing in government is to continue doing things the way that they've always been done. The harder path is to ask whether spending decisions remain in the best interest of the community and whether citizens are receiving sufficient value for the dollars being spent. That is the responsibility of elected officials. So I ask again, who does local government ultimately serve? In my view, the answer is crystal clear. Local government exists to serve the citizens who fund it, elect it, and place their trust in it. I want to thank this council for asking the hard questions, exercising fiscal discipline, and keeping the interests of Jamestown citizens at the forefront of your decisions. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Cheryl Harvey.
First of all, it's that yellow house again. Nobody's ever gotten in touch with me. There's 2 people spending the night there every night. I ride by there when I come home from my job that I get off of late, and the same 2 cars are backed up in the corner, and then they're gone the next morning. So nobody's gotten back in touch with me that something's being done about it, because it's not a residential house that is zoned for commercial. So I don't know why something hadn't been done about it by now. The second problem is I was sitting outside at a neighbor's house last week, and I got up to leave. It was 9:10, and when I got on the driveway, these 2 young guys approached me, and walking, and it was dark. It was after 9 o'clock, and they were approaching me, and I asked them what they were doing. Oh, we're selling pest control. And I said, well, you're not supposed to be out here like this. And so another one came up on a little scooter thing, and they took off around the corner. Well, I called 911 because I didn't feel comfortable with them approaching me after 9 o'clock in a driveway, way up off the street. And so a deputy called me back shortly thereafter, and he said, oh, yeah, they've been all over the neighborhood today selling pest control. I said, well, did you see a permit? Well, no, I'm sure they had one. I said, no, sir, they did not. And I said, they have to have a permit, and they shouldn't be out here after dark. Well, if we're going to spend all this money on deputies, which we need, then they need to know what our rules and regulations are. Because the deputy that called me back and said he was in the area, but he never rode down where I called him about, because we stood out in the street and waited on him to come investigate, and they never showed up. But the thing of it is, if we're going to pay them $600,000 a year, they should certainly be made aware of what our rules and regulations are, and I was very disappointed in them. So I'm disappointed in y'all, too, about this yellow house, because Matt and Madam Mayor, both of y'all told me you'd be in touch with me, and I hadn't heard a word from anybody. It's not only me that rides by there and we see what's going on. You know, a lot of y'all live in the area. Y'all could do the same thing. But I'm very disappointed in y'all because I've been up here for months, asking the same thing. And obviously, I'm the only one concerned because I certainly hadn't heard from anybody, and I'm tired of it. So I expect to hear something unless y'all know they're doing this and y'all don't care. And that's what I assume's going on. Y'all don't care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nobody else signed up.
Excuse me, Matthew, I just have a question. I know the last time that Ms. Harvey spoke about the Yellow House, I remembered you did send some correspondence. I can't remember what, could you just?
Yes, I've sent numerous emails to Ms. Harvey, never had a response. I'm not sure if she's receiving them or not. I know that the owner of the property has reached out to her via telephone a couple of times, according to the owner of the property. No response. I'm not sure how the best way to handle this. I've had conversations with the tenant, and I've had a conversation with the owner of the house. They assure me that nobody lives in the house. You know, they do keep some different hours where they have Bible study, that type of thing that goes on in the house, which is appropriate, it's fine. And the last time we met, they were going to be investigating with Guilford County building inspections to see if they could transition that over to a different type of use. So I haven't talked to the owner about that recently, just because we've been saddled with a lot of budgetary issues. But I can reach back out to the owner of the property and see where they are on that.
Yeah, I think that would be.
I think the last email we got, you said that you all checked on it again and that you were comfortable and assured that no one was spending the night there, but they were using it during the day for education or something like that.
My understanding is from both the tenant and the owner of the property is that they use it at all different hours to do their meetings and things like that.
Well,
there's nothing inappropriate going on there as far as we can tell. We've had code enforcement, and just one second.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I've had code enforcement go in, take photographic evidence to make sure that there was not any evidence of anybody staying there overnight. That doesn't mean that, you know, I use this example. If the soap lady's making soap all night long, is that against the law? It doesn't mean that it's against the law if somebody's there all night long. But we can take, I don't understand kind of what the rub is, but we can try to see if we can get in touch with the property owner. But I'm sorry, Sarah?
Oh, so are we just taking the property owner and the tenant's word for it? I mean, it seems like they could just lie.
They could. I mean, I guess I could knock on the door at 3 in the morning and see if somebody answers it, but.
Well, I guess what's the, like, if someone is living there when they're not supposed to, because we do know for a fact that they've gone to businesses in town and said, oh, hey, we're your new neighbors who live in the yellow house. So what is the process for having that stop?
In this particular case, I have a good rapport with the property owner, and I can just tell them that, you know, it seems to be continuing to be a problem, and they can take it up with the tenant and let them deal with it on the tenant side. You know, we could issue a violation against the property owner. I'm not sure that would have the same intended, you know, just having a conversation with the property owner would have the same effect, I think. You know, it depends on.
Who's the property owner?
It's Ragsdale Brothers, Will Ragsdale. So, you know, if the council wants to take it all the way to court, I guess we could take it all the way to court. That'd be extremely expensive, but I'm not sure I understand what the rub is. I mean, I'm trying to figure out.
Well, I guess what the rub is that we have a resident in Jamestown who is saying that she feels like somebody is living in there. And as Councilmember Sarah Glanville said, you know, the residents obviously have come out and introduced themselves. I don't know what that.
I understand. I mean, I've seen the videos as well.
We do feel that it is necessary that we get to the bottom of it so that, you know, we can move on. I don't know how that looks. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know. I'm not ordinance. I don't know what that looks like.
Ms. Harvey, I haven't responded to you because I assumed that that they were responding to you.
And we did.
People who.
And we did. I have evidence of that if you need to see it.
I just am saying.
So what's so say someone's operating a commercial venture in a residential, which is against zoning? What's the ramification?
Proper thing would be to issue notice of violation and go through the due process, but Rob, you want to take over from that? Turn your,
Just pull it closer to you, I think.
Like me.
there you go.
Anytime that a town of any sort, any municipality takes an enforcement action for any of its ordinances, whether that's jaywalking or a zoning violation or anything else, we have to be able to prove by clear, cogent, convincing evidence at the bare minimum for like zoning stuff, but obviously if we get into criminal and general policing policies, beyond a reasonable doubt. So the hearsay evidence, even like video hearsay evidence, is not sufficient evidence to bring those particular charges or to make that determination. If Matthew and the zoning folks go to the building and they see that there are toothbrushes and shampoos and changes of clothes, that is certainly some evidence that somebody's staying there. It's just a very difficult thing for us to prove compared to, is something residential or business, right? If somebody's operating a convenience store in a residential building, you might take 2 pictures and you're done, right? You can walk in, take a video of you buying stuff, and you're done. But this is it's not a commercial property. Nobody can just walk in. So to the extent that we can knock and they allow us to come in and take pictures, we could potentially gather some evidence that way. But if they're being very careful with it, I mean, there's lots of people that get away with all sorts of stuff all the time. I mean, I can assure you that right now there are people breaking the law in Jamestown, and we don't have evidence of that, and as a result, we can't bring charges against them. So like I understand how difficult that is for both the town, the ordinance folks, and the citizens, right? That they think that somebody's living there, and they may be right? But that's not a sufficient level to bring criminal charges against somebody or to determine that somebody's violated an ordinance.
I guess that's disheartening because I guess I don't know why we have ordinances then, honestly. Like, why is it zoned for anything then?
Well, I mean, like, it's illegal to do drugs in your own home, right?
Yeah.
People do that every day, and the police never catch them, right? We have laws and ordinances and rules about what people can and can't do, and the town and law enforcement and the zoning folks do the best they can to enforce those. But at the end of the day, we as citizens of the United States have decided that it's better to let some guilty people go free than to potentially lock up people that are innocent. And that's why we have that like really high burden. So even on something as simple as a zoning violation, we are the ones that carry the burden to prove that somebody has violated that ordinance. And this particular ordinance is just a really difficult thing to gather evidence to show that somebody's violating it. So, because again, if I tried to take somebody to court saying that they were spending the night there, and the only thing I had was that one of the neighbors has seen a car parked there late at night and leave in the morning, right? I'm liable to be sanctioned by a judge for bringing that case, right? And I couldn't bring that case. If we had a whole bunch of evidence, maybe at some point it would amass to the point that we could take action. But I think more importantly, from a policy standpoint, that's a good reason to have Matthew try to apply pressure from a non-legal standpoint to try to get them to get their tenants to do what they're supposed to see what other alternatives are out there, see if maybe they can go to a different use of a different property or find some way to alleviate everybody's concerns. But I just, from what little bit I've been told, I don't think that there's been sufficient evidence for the town to make a determination that an ordinance has been violated.
Is the Yellow House a business? Do you know?
My understanding at this point is that it originally had started to operate as a furniture consignment business. But the tenant said that the house is pretty fragile and they didn't want to keep moving furniture in and out. So they elected not to use it for that purpose and just use it as a meeting spot, which is an acceptable use.
What is it registered as? I mean, if they were
We don't have any registration.
Oh, that's right, not for the business, that's right. Well, maybe we should implement that.
That's state law.
But, I thought it was a business, that's what I'm saying, so that would make a difference if it was a business operating from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or 6, and then you see people in there at 10 or 11, then perhaps that, so, if it's not operating as a 9 to 5, then and it's not a restaurant that stays open till 10, so I don't know.
Matthew, could we just go ahead and talk to the property owner to say that there's still concerns with the tenant, and then
Be glad to.
see what information we get back on that, and we go from there?
Will do.
I'll take that one step further. I think I would include the tenant in the meeting too, if the property owner is comfortable with that, because
I've done both.
Yeah.
I've had both of them together already. I'm happy to reach out to the property owner and just let them know there's still concerns.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Okay, community corner, you have something? Oh, any more public comments, I'm sorry, is that it?
Yeah.
We're good? Okay, Lee Richmond, if you can come to the podium. Sherry?
Good, so.
Okay, I am honored to present a certificate of recognition to Lieutenant Colonel Lee F. Richmond, a USAF retired. In recognition of his presentation of the Gold Star Memorial Marker at the Field of Honor at the Triad Park on behalf of the town of Jamestown and the Cedarwood Garden Club in honor of our nation's fallen service members, the sacrifices of their families, and their enduring legacy of patriotism and service. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Smile. On this occasion, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Did you want to say anything?
In addition to the recognition of Lee Richmond, I'd like to also recognize Charla right here. She began last summer, over a year ago, contacting the Field of Honor, their board. Took her 3 months to get permission to put the Gold Star out there. And then she did the fundraising because it costs money. She's the one who initiated it, followed through, and these are other members of the Cedarwood Garden Club. But at the dedication, there were people who came from 2.5 to 3 hours away from the Field of Honor just to be at that event. It was larger than all of us, really. And so please thank Charla. And the town of Jamestown was mentioned several times.
Okay, moving on, to Matthew, I think we're ready for the manager report.
Good evening, council. Some comments here. The town will be celebrating America's 250th birthday with a cookout at Rand Miller Park on Friday, July 3rd from 12 noon to 3 p.m. There'll be hot dogs, hamburgers, and cake that will be provided while supplies last. Adult beverages available for purchase from vendors, and this will precede the town's Second Music in the Park concert, which kicks off at 6 p.m. with a special occasion band. Town offices will be closed on that same day, July the 3rd, in observance of the Independence Day holiday. There will not be any changes to the solid waste pickup schedule. And finally, Sheriff Danny Rogers will host a town hall meeting here in this room on Thursday, this Thursday, June 25th, from 6 to 8 p.m. And then the sheriff will update the community on the services that the sheriff's office provides and give some insight to the operations that his command staff oversee. And the public is certainly invited to attend. That's all I have, unless you have questions.
Thank you.
Just one comment. I just wanted to thank Councilwoman Burgess for her leadership with the community cookout that's going to happen on the 3rd from noon until 3 p.m. So thank you, Pam.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes,
My
thank
pleasure.
you so much. She put a lot of work in
A
that.
lot of work in a very quick amount of time.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you.
It's very impressive.
It's going to be a blast. Okay, any committee reports from anyone?
I had one. So we had our High Point Urban Area MPO meeting today. Martha, we missed you. Our next meeting is going to be on August the 25th at 10 o'clock at the High Point Museum. But for those tuning in tonight, we're starting to talk about the next iteration of the TIP and what's affectionately known as prioritization process number 8. So Jamestown does have a series of projects that's committed. One is that we're talking about is a prospective grade separation project with Oakdale Road. So as I understand it, it is now in preliminary engineering, and according to the DOT Division 7 engineer, probably sometime this fall, Matthew, Jose, they'll have some kind of concepts for us to react to with the grade separation project. There's also one safety project that they've identified, which is a new project that's not yet on the TIP, is along US 29, sort of between River and Riverdale Road. So council may recall a couple of meetings ago, we approved a resolution for a safety study that was part of the Regional Transportation Safety Action Plan. This was listed in that particular document. It'll be designed as what they call a super street, so it'll have some kind of interesting sort of free flow configurations to help reduce accidents. But again, our next meeting is August the 25th, 10 o'clock in the morning, High Point Museum. And seriously, Martha, the members did tell me to tell you hello. They extend their thanks and appreciation for your good work there, and do miss you, so thank you.
Parks and Recs met on June the 1st. It was a very short meeting, but they're definitely staying busy over there. The playground remains very busy. The golf course remains very busy. And the dog park is in the works. Yay. So they're staying busy. A short meeting, but they're definitely busy over there, so.
Beatrice is looking
can I ask
forward to
one-
that dog park.
That's all.
One question, I don't know if this came up in that meeting or not, but I know we had the fire incident at the park maybe a month or so ago, and as I recall, there was one, for lack of a better word of knowing what, there was one umbrella or canvas kind of device out there that was burned up in the fire, and I didn't know if we had plans to replace that and when that might happen.
Yeah, we're working that process through the insurance claim process. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Anyone else?
There were no schools meeting. They were kind of working on graduation and getting to the end of the year, so we'll start back in the fall.
And there was a planning board meeting, but I was not there. I was out of town, and I have not had a chance to watch the planning board meeting yet, but we'll have an update before the hearings when we set that schedule.
Thanks. Let's see, how about our high school representative? Is he here this evening? I don't think so.
He's on summer break.
Oh, that's right. Hope he is. Guilford County Sheriff Department. Any report from the sheriffs tonight?
Just in front of the mic so we can hear you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
For the month of May, we have 5 reports of thefts, 3 for drug and weapon offense, 3 reports on calls for service, 2 DWIs, and 1 fraud. Total calls for service, we had 266 calls for service, 187 self-initiated calls. We had 63 traffic stops, 16 citations, and the average response time was 5 minutes and 4 seconds. Average reaction time, 5 minutes and 58 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to our public hearing for the consideration of adoption of the budget. And I'm sure, as everyone knows, Senate Bill 889 has been passed, and the governor also signed the bill. So we are returning to the, right back where we started, to the non-revalued, the original valued properties. And so we're kind of looking at a different budget. Matthew is going to lead us through it.
That is correct. We did have to pivot very quickly, and that does take quite a bit of a lift. I'm going to read some excerpts here. I'm not going to read the entire budget message, but I do think it is important for us to give this information for the public so they understand sort of the process and how we got to this point. As the mayor said, following the ratification of Senate Bill 889 on June the 10th, we are now submitting an updated budget for the council's consideration. So North Carolina law requires the counties to periodically revalue all real property to reflect the current market value, which is a process that typically drives the assessed values higher in a rising market. And Senate Bill 889, which was signed into law June the 10th, requires counties with reappraisals that were effective January 1st, which Guilford was, to revert to their prior schedule of values for the 26-27 fiscal year, meaning that the new market-based assessments cannot be used for tax purposes until fiscal year 27-28, so next year. For Guilford County, which completed their reappraisal, as I said, this year, this creates a direct gap between what the property is actually worth today and what can legally be taxed. And since a significant portion of our revenues depend on the tax base, that gap flows directly into our budget planning, and council and residents should know that this is a state-imposed constraint on local fiscal capacity and not a local policy choice. So state did this to us. In accordance with the direction provided by the council during our budget process, we respectfully submit the proposed budget for consideration. This budget was prepared in accordance with General Statute 159, the North Carolina Local Budget and Fiscal Control Act. All funds within the budget, the proposed budget, are balanced and all revenues and expenditures identified. We are still concerned that revised approach places some increased reliance on fund balance and deferred expenditures in a way that could impact the town's long-term goals, and we would welcome continued discussion regarding alternative service levels, expenditure reductions, revenue structures, and tax rates that would better align with our ongoing operational needs at the town's long-term strategic priorities. The revised budget for 26-27 reflects direction that the council provided during our May 12th budget meeting. Council directed the staff to establish a proposed property tax rate of 51.63 cents per hundred evaluation, fund nonprofit requests for the at the 25-26 levels while supporting the new request from NC Fusion, and eliminate the originally proposed future expenditures appropriation, fund the 3% COLA, and delay implementation of the proposed advanced metering infrastructure project by 1 fiscal year. You're going to hear me say this, but we're not doing all of that. As required by General Statute 159.11e, the proposed budget that originally included the calculated revenue neutral tax rate for comparison purposes following the property tax reevaluation. We're not doing that, so we don't have to worry about the revenue neutral rate. The originally proposed budget includes the proposed tax rate of 51.63, but due to Senate Bill 889, town staff is going to recommend holding the current tax rate of 65.5 cents per hundred. Because Senate Bill 889 requires Guilford County to use the pre-reevaluation property values for 26 and 27, the assessed value based on the proposed rate of 51.63 just does not apply anymore. Applying the rate to the older, lower values would generate less revenue than the budget requires. So holding the current rate of 65.5 cents would ensure that the town can meet its obligations without a mid-year shortfall, while the full fiscal impact of the legislation is absorbed. Also, due to Senate Bill 889, Pinecroft-Sedgefield Fire District, because they are dependent on property tax as well, is proposing a rate increase, and there's going to be some change here from what's actually printed in the budget message, because I got some information late this afternoon from Chief Carson. They're going to be proposing a rate increase of 3.65 cents, bringing their rate to 20.37 cents, up from 16.72 cents. And I went through that sort of slowly so you can digest that. That's to cover their budgetary requirements. Our long-standing practice has been to pass that cost through to the residents in the fire district, consistent with how the county handles it. Staff does not recommend absorbing the increase, and would ask the council to direct that the town rate, tax rate be adjusted accordingly. While the proposed rate for this meeting was based on the proposed budget was based on tax rate of 65.5 cents. The staff respectfully requests that the council consider a tax rate of, it's going to be 69.15 cents, but I would round that down to 69 cents. That would keep us on a more sound financial footing. Absorbing the increase, and which Faith has given you an option with this budget, combined with the significant fund balance draw already built into the budget, poses a real risk to our long-term financial position. So we would recommend that you consider passing on that direct cost at a rate of 69 cents. During the June 4th budget meeting, council received information from Guilford County Sheriff's Office that the proposed actual cost to provide 24/7, 365 coverage to the town of Jamestown for law enforcement would be approximately $592,102. And after some discussion, the council directed staff to include $475,000 in the proposed budget for law enforcement, with the understanding that this does result in a reduction of coverage. The best explanation that we've received for that is that we would still get 24/7, 365 coverage as long as there was an officer available to do that, based on their training schedules and vacation and sick time, that type of stuff. Capital expenditures within the revised budget continue to support operational and infrastructural needs, but we have taken certain projects and long-term investments and delayed or modified those in order to accommodate the revised financial approach directed by council. Due to the Senate bill passing and the challenges that resulted from that, this latest proposed budget includes quite a few following cuts and deferments to help keep the tax rate just as low as possible. Some of those, and I explained this in the email to you today, some of those are fairly clear in the CIP, like we're not going to be asking for tarps or furniture, those types of things for the park. But there are four that I wanted to draw your attention to, just because I know that these are things that are important to the council and the public. First, we have removed the music in the park events for September and October of this year and June of 2027. That's a savings of approximately $15,000. Defer the Civic Center technology to fiscal year 27-28. That's a savings of $20,000. Defer HVAC replacement at the fire station to fiscal year 27-28 for $15,000. And as I said, the tarp replacement at the golf course, for example, 27-28, just move that out a year. That's a savings of $30,000. Council also directed staff to include the following items in the 26-27 budget. The reduction of the lobbyist fees, but retain some amount for 26-27 to continue to assist in our efforts in securing funding for the fire station,
and bathrooms at Bryn Miller Park. Staff has proposed to retain $35,000, which is down from $70,000, so basically half for that service. And the inclusion of $4,000 for the America's 250 celebration event and a sponsorship of $1,000 will bring this total line item to $5,000. Council's revised budget for fiscal year 26-27 reflects the policy direction provided during the May 12th budget meeting, and the total for this year's budget is proposed as $21,627,200 for all town operations, capital improvements, transfers, and debt service. Total budget excluding inter-fund transfers amounts to $19,802,894. That, as proposed, is at a tax rate of 65.5 cents, as I said. And at that tax rate, the amount of ad valorem property tax revenue is estimated to be approximately $3,876,227 based on a collection rate of 98%. Sales and use tax revenues are expected to be $1,417,000, and tax and tag motor vehicle taxes estimated to be approximately $402,457, which represents some of the larger general fund revenues. The finance team sat down and worked very closely with the department heads to sharpen revenue projections for the coming year. Golf course performance, as it was Councilmember Burgess talked about earlier, has been very strong. And if current trends hold, we expect that momentum to carry into 26-27. Sales tax collections have also remained steady, and the finance director determined that it may be appropriate to modestly increase our projected sales tax revenues, but we're still trying to remain very conservative. That thanks in part to the favorable weather, the recreation staff's commitment to quality conditions, and excellent hospitality, golf revenues were projected to increase about $76,000, and recreation revenues approximately $9,000 over the prior year. Sales tax revenues, as I said, have come in a little bit stronger than anticipated, and we're a little bit cautious about the broader economic conditions that come. We don't have a crystal ball. The current trends support a modest increase in those projections, and taken together, those adjustments reflect an additional $167,150 in anticipated revenues, which were incorporated into this proposed budget. We covered this in the past, but the Water and Sewer Fund budget proposed a rate increase of approximately 8% for water only. Utilities rate study consultants originally recommended 7.5%, and that's how the math works, but the final proposed rate reflects the additional percentage necessary to accommodate rate rounding and billing structure calculations. And again, sewer rates proposed to remain unchanged. Although the council had expressed initially the desire to remove the AMI project from the proposed budget, council did direct staff to budget $100,000 from the water and sewer fund balance to replace some of our most critical water meters. Staff continues to recommend that we invest in this in the future, as we discussed at the last meeting on June the 4th. And a significant portion of our town's existing water meters are approaching or have reached the end of their useful life. And as they age, they tend to slow down, which can result in under-registration of water consumption and a corresponding loss of utility revenue for the town. These rates are also taken into account pending capital projects in the upcoming year, and water and sewer usage fees are projected to bring in approximately $6,210,811 in revenue. Additional revenue sources in water and sewer include connection fees, late fees, and investment income, projected at approximately $264,300 for the next fiscal year. Unrestricted intergovernmental revenues include distributions of local sales tax, telecommunications, utility sales, natural gas, and video programming sales tax. ABC system distributions are also included in this category of revenue. Negotiations with the High Point ABC Board regarding the potential modification of its current revenue distribution structure remain ongoing and could ultimately prove beneficial for the town. However, because those discussions haven't been finalized, the proposed budget is conservatively reflecting the estimated annual revenue at $50,000. Based on the projections from the league, they're projecting total sales tax distributions to be relatively flat, and restricted intergovernmental revenues include funds that are received from federal, state, local sources and are restricted in use. We receive annual POW bill allocation, which is based on population and public street mileage, We're expecting those receipts to be approximately $127,900. In fiscal year 24-25, we implemented a motor vehicle fee to supplement our Powell bill funding for street maintenance. And for fiscal year 26-27, the proposed budget reflects the council's direction to reduce the fee from $30 annually per vehicle to $15 annually per vehicle, resulting in an estimated revenue of $55,575. Is that correct? Okay, make sure. In the past, these revenues have been instrumental in allowing the town to significantly increase our biannual street resurfacing work, but with the continued increase in asphalt and construction costs, we anticipate that future resurfacing bids will likely come in higher, resulting in fewer roadway miles being resurfaced with the funding that we have. Services and fees, revenues from golf course operations, planning and development fees, sanitation fees, and cell tower and other leases. Golf course rounds played and recreation field and picnic shelters rentals, as Councilman Burgess said, have continued to remain extremely strong. We believe that these demand for services will continue to increase with the renovations that are now underway and with additional growth and development in the area. Recreation revenues, that's greens fees, cart rentals, golf shop, pro shop, sales, shelter rentals, and ball field rentals are projected at approximately $1,543,850 for the next fiscal year. We have experienced a favorable return on investments over the past few years with increased interest rates. Forecasts have called for a flattening trend in interest income, so we're conservatively projecting interest income of $302,600. Under our, that's revenues. Under proposed expenditures, personnel category remains one of our most important expenditures. We're estimating at $5,135,477, or approximately 26% of the total budget. Expenditures include salaries, FICA, retirement, group insurance, 401k, and other miscellaneous benefits for up to 40 full-time positions. Town also employs part-time and seasonal employees, but they do not receive those benefits. Fiscal year 26-27 budget contains provisions to allow the 3% cost of living and does eliminate merit increases. Supplies and materials, $1,709,451, or approximately 9% of the total budget. And these are specific to each department, such as fertilizer for the golf course, et cetera, as well as office supplies, fuel for equipment, small tools, and other miscellaneous items. Our contractual services category is $4,933,404, or approximately 25% of the total budget. Includes attorney fees, property and liability insurance, cleaning, security systems, building service contracts, and miscellaneous services. Other operating expenditures accounts for $1,344,850, or approximately 7% of the total budget. Includes travel, conferences, education, utilities, dues, advertising, repairs and maintenance, telephone and data fees, and other miscellaneous fees. Almost done. The capital outlay category, it accounts for $5,171,984, or approximately 26% of the total budget. It includes items of property that are tangible in nature, have a life that is longer than 1 year, and a value of $10,000 or greater. Under our recommended capital outlay, we have items such as the solid waste truck, recreation and golf equipment needs to be replaced, repairs to existing infrastructure, as well as water and sewer improvements. Various capital expenditures are also accounted for in our capital project ordinance funds, which are multi-year funds that exist for the life of the project. That means that things that go over budget years. These would be like sidewalk projects and some recreational projects. Debt payments, about $615,888, or approximately 3%, and transfers to the capital reserve fund, approximately $700,000, or 4%, make up the remaining balance of the budget. The preparation of the annual budget requires balancing present affordability with long-term sustainability. The revised budget reflects policy decisions that were made during a period of significant public concern surrounding the county's reevaluation process, and this budget process has been challenging for both the council and the staff alike. Staff have made every effort to reduce non-critical expenditures while maintaining levels of service that our citizens have requested. We're still concerned that there's a reliance on fund balance expenditures and absorption of tax increases from our partners at the fire district could create some additional financial pressures in the future fiscal years, which would limit the town's flexibility to respond to infrastructure, operational, staffing, and service needs. Maintaining strong stewardship, resource stewardship, and long-term financial resiliency will remain essential to avoiding larger corrective adjustments to the tax rate in the future. And we are submitting this for your consideration this evening. It is a public hearing, which has been continued from the May 19th council meeting. So if you have questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them, or I can ask Faith to give me a hand.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
First of all, I just want to appreciate the work that Faith had to do in terms of getting that information at the very last moment when that bill was passed and having to change everything that was already done. So I know that's a tremendous amount of work. I was in a meeting with the school district today, and they had the same problem with that being changed, and their amount of money being received is a lot less. So I certainly appreciate that. I had a quick question about the fire department, and do we know the cost? I think the total cost that we're talking about in terms of the amount needed. I know that we have it's 3.365 or 3.65, but what was the dollar amount that's going to add? Do we know that?
261.
264, 300 in the budget. 264,300. It's like a 26% increase as it relates to last year, or 25% increase from last year.
And then, I'm sorry.
I want to make sure that Faith has a chance to answer that question, because I don't know that number is exactly the same, but.
It was, so say that again, I'm sorry, I was listening
The
to
amount of,
somebody else.
we got the percentage, but what was the amount of money that was going to be in terms of the fire department?
At the rate that they need, the 2.37,
Right.
20.2037, it's around 260.
Okay. And on the proposed budget where we are not increasing the tax rate, it's staying at 65, do you have the amount that we have to go into fund balance in order to balance that?
Yes, yes, it was around let me see. It was
And then-
around 420, it's probably around 398 now.
398, okay. And so if we did the increase, how much, I guess I could do some math here, it'd be like $130,000 that we'd have to go into fund balance if we did the increase
For the fire?
for the fire. If we went up to 69, how far would we have to go into fund balance in order to balance that one?
Oh, to go up to the 69, it would put some money back into fund balance.
Okay.
It would cover all of your expenses and give you just a little bit back.
Okay.
Because I have it balanced at the 65 and a half.
Right.
So anything additional, you could either, if you want to put some things back in the budget that we deferred, or you can put that into fund balance.
Okay.
That's what you so choose to do.
Thank you.
I wanted to also second what Jim said. I know for Faith, you, Matthew, Katie, and your teams and department heads, Paul is here today, Jose is here. I know this was a lot of work for us, so I know it was a lot of work for you all, and to have a wrench thrown in at the last minute was not anything anyone wanted, but you all rose to the occasion and did it, and it's much appreciated. So I wanted to say that. I did have a question actually for Chief Carson, if he's available to talk for just a sec. He's like, darn it, I should have left. Hey.
Hey, how you
So,
doing?
good. Can you explain, I know I didn't have a chance to meet with you prior to any of this, so I know you've spoken with some folks. Explain a little bit about why there's the increase again when there was just an increase last year of about the same amount?
Yeah, so the increase last year was a separate issue. Had a shortfall. All fire districts in the county of Guilford experienced a shortfall in revenue based off what was explained. I don't want to go into all that. So that was a whole, I can go into that in a different platform, but that was attributing to that increase is because the revenues that we were operating off that we were given by the county were inaccurate at the time.
Okay.
Yep. Plus, we also initiated phase 1 last year of a salary study that was done by Piedmont Triad Regional Council. And so last year, that was a part of that increase to stay competitive in the market. And then the increase this year is the second phase of that salary study and progression that we did, our board elected to do over a 2-year period. And then the second piece of that, a second piece of that increase is additional staff that we're expanding upon, adding more staff on duty to respond throughout the district. So it's additional personnel and then also the increase in costs.
Okay, all right, that's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So do we have anybody signed up for the public hearing?
They don't have to sign up, we just need to open it.
Anybody want to be heard? Making this easy.
I move we close the public hearing if there's nobody to speak.
Second?
Turn the mic on.
Aye.
Aye.
So I wanted to, I guess, first of all, make a motion about some of the deferred and added items to the budget that Matthew brought up and was part of his budget message. So I'd like to make a motion that we add back in the music in the park events at $15,000, that we add back in the Civic Center monitors at $20,000, and that we eliminate the lobbyist proposal at $35,000.
For the lobbyist, where I'm at with that is, until we're settled, seeing that process through with the fire station, I personally would like to keep them on month to month until that's settled. I don't think it will go a full year for the full fiscal year of 26, 27, but I assume it will go, into maybe the early fall-ish. That's where I'm at with that.
So originally, I said no, came back and then I said yes. And then I came back and I said with a lower price, but for me, I've changed again and I just don't think that we've gotten the services that I was expecting from them to date. So I agree with eliminating.
I feel similar to Sarah that I think we did get some value. I think that still kind of remains to be seen, and to have something in the budget that would account for it moving forward. If we get to a point and we want to stop because we're not getting the value or the job has been done, then we can look to stop it at that time. But so I feel about that particular one. The other items, the music in the park and the Civic Center, I'm not opposed to adding those back. I don't, the monitors are more for the public than they are for us. But the cost of that, I think it was this $20,000. That's what it's listed in there, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to go back to one other thing just for a moment and just kind of talk about cost for a second and the value of employees. I understand we've had a lot of discussion about salary and COLA and merit, and I think I've explained to you guys how I felt about that, and I'll just say one more time that things like the music in the park, for example, has our staff out working extra hours at that time. And the cost of doing 1%, as I think we even debated one time at 3 and 1 or 4, I think is somewhere between $27,000 and $29,000 for 1%. And if you take that over I think we have 38 employees. We're budgeted for 40, but I think we have 38 at the time, if I'm not mistaken. That comes out to about, on average, $61 a month. So it's basically a tank of gas for our employees. And so while I understand the concerns about the merit in it being automatic each time, that's something, I think that's the conversation that we're still having and looking at that moving forward. How do we put that in and make it fair and defendable? I would still ask that we would consider at least either 3 and 1 or 4% COLA for our employees, just because in the value or the cost of that, and you're looking at things on here, that's the same cost as the TVs that we're putting in here. And so I understand both sides of that argument, but I would just encourage us to consider that again. Thank you.
I just want to say something before we move forward. I failed to mention Karen is also here as a department.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Karen, too. I'm wondering if we could maybe separate the motion so they're not all rolled into one.
You mean all the items on the list?
Well, because you made a motion for all.
Yeah, I made a motion to add the 2 items and eliminate the 1.
Right. I'm wondering.
And there was no second to that one, so you can separate them. So if you want to make a motion just to add music in the park events back into the budget, you can do that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we
Yeah,
just want to do it as separate items, separate motions?
Okay, I'll take that
okay?
friendly amendment. I'll make a motion that we add the music in the park events and the Civic Center technology back into the budget.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No. I thought we were separating those.
We are.
That was the discussion.
I think Jim
That's
was
2
saying
items together.
Separating, so one, do a motion for music in the park.
Okay.
Additional one,
TV.
just
All right.
1 and 1, so go ahead. So you want to make a motion
that
for the
we
music?
add back in the music in the park events into the budget.
What do we, hold on, Katie, what do we do about that last motion?
Nothing.
It dies for
Okay.
lack of a second.
No, it
Well,
didn't
I
have
didn't.
Pam
You
second.
can vote, you can vote.
You could withdraw.
Yeah, withdraw, that would be best.
I'll withdraw them. Okay,
Okay.
so I withdraw everything.
right.
We're back to square one.
All right, so.
Square one.
A
So I'm
motion
gonna
to
make it.
add music in the park events
Right,
back into.
a motion to add the music in the park events back into the budget.
Okay.
Okay, and now second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I make a motion to add the Civic Center technology back into the budget.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I'm going to oppose I'm going to oppose that.
I'm in favor.
Well, hang on a second.
Yep.
Okay, so there's a tie. Mary Dickinson.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes to add it back in.
And then I'll make a motion that we eliminate the lobbyist funding out of the budget.
Second,
I second.
all in favor?
Hang on.
Aye.
Hey, guys, hang on 1 second.
Katie can't keep
We
up.
need to be respectful of
I
Katie. This is
I
a
am
really
trying to
difficult,
keep up.
difficult job.
Okay, so to add the lobbyists, that was Jim Westmoreland.
Yep.
Second.
Wait, you said to add it?
No.
Oh, to
Eliminate.
Oh, no, to eliminate.
Sorry,
Yes.
thank you for keeping me
all
on my toes.
back to
Okay.
square one.
Second.
I second.
Okay.
Oh, okay, and then in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay. Hang on. Okay. Mayor Dickinson.
Eliminate, do not want.
So you're voting to eliminate it?
Yes.
Okay. So it'll be removed. That passes. Okay. All right.
I have a quick question, Matthew. But for the America 250, if I come in under budget, and I think I am, so where does that go back into?
So,
Or does that just go back into?
the America's 250 is under special events, yes?
Huh?
America's 250 is under special events.
Under governing body.
It's under,
It's under line for special events, under governing body.
okay, so it would remain in that line item under governing body special events. And if you don't expend it before the end of the year, it would roll back into fund balance.
I still have a question about the fire department. I know I wrote you about this today, Matthew, and I think that we didn't have enough time to have one more part to that question. On the line item for the annual contract, since it was last printed out, there was an amount of 11,000, where is it? 11,000 and some change added in the actual budget document. Because we're sitting here, we were talking about 264,000 being the amount of the contract, but that brings it up now to 275,478. So just some clarification on why it went up to 275, the amount that we're adding to the annual contract. Pinecroft?
You're asking me a question? Or
Yes, I am. Or somebody of faith, maybe. It's,
what is the, can you clarify the question?
yeah, it's in the budget document, the line item for the actual annual Pinecroft Sedgefield contract. I don't have it in front of me right here. It's 4,100 something. But the original amount of the contract, the last time we had the budget, was the preliminary budget, $1,362,826, and now it's up to $1,374,004. So $11,178 was added to the contract. So now instead of only going up $264,300, it's gone up $275,478.
That's because of their tax rate that they're asking for.
So we're actually increasing the amount by $275. Correct? That's what this says.
I don't know where the 275's coming from.
Well, the preliminary budget that we got, I guess May 19th is the last time it was printed. And the budgeted amount is $1,362,826 for their annual contract. And then the budget I'm looking at here that we received for this meeting says $1,374,004 for the contract, and the difference is $11,178.
Right, and that was
Right, that
because
was
of
the
their
rate
increase.
increase they asked
Right.
for. It went from .1672 to .2060 at the time this was done. And that's why there's a difference there, an increase. Because they're asking for a higher.
I think it's closer to $4,000 difference now instead of 11, right?
Yeah, at the new proposed rate at .2037, it would be $1,358,663.
Oh, so this is going to be updated then?
Oh, yes. Any changes that you make tonight will be updated in this budget before it's even published.
Okay, great. That answers that. Thank you. All right.
So I'd like to provide a few comments, Madam Mayor. Like everybody said, there's been a lot of work and effort that's gone into the budget development process. I know that this council's worked very, very hard in trying to balance all of the many interests of the community while continuing to provide very high levels of service, the capital projects that we need for the next year. And understanding that, our community is not different than anybody else in the country right now. There's lots of needs, and there's issues with affordability. I think I wanted to, recognize the work of the team, and specifically the manager for the budget that he developed and sent back to us on very quick order last Friday. And in looking through that, I can tell you where I'm currently at with it. I think I'm comfortable in adopting the budget as presented by the manager in his packet for the fiscal year 26-27. Effectively, it would set the tax rate at 65.5 cents per 100 valuation, and effectively fully fund the fire department request that they're asking for, fully fund the sheriff's request that we have sort of set a parameter around now of having 4 deputies and $475,000. Would look to, as the manager mentioned, reduce our vehicle fee from $30 down to $15. would set the rate for our water rate increase to 8%. I know there's been a lot of ongoing conversation around the use of fund balance, and I don't take any of that lightly when I look at the numbers and the details. From my perspective, that's been an issue that's been somewhat probably magnified within the focus of our discussions in this community, from the perspective of looking at what this council is looking to need to balance our budget versus what councils have done over the past couple of years in terms of use of fund balance to balance their budgets. But more importantly, I look at the way that we operate the town with our conservative budget principles, the fact that for the past couple of years we've ended up with excess revenues that have gone back into fund balance. And I applaud the manager and the staff team for this. They do an excellent job of looking at cost affordability, their operations, what they can do to limit that type of thing. But with all that said, I'm comfortable in recommending or making a motion to this council that we effectively adopt the proposed budget ordinance that the manager presented to us last Friday with updates that we've already talked about, and we've moved on this evening with the music in the park, with the Civic Center technology, and with taking the lobbyist out. But I'm very thankful and proud of the work of this board. It's not been necessarily the easiest process in the world. I don't necessarily know that I feel that we've been fully supported on occasions when we've asked for things and things have not necessarily been provided to us, even though they've been historically done in the past. But with all that said, I'm ready to make a motion whenever others have their comments tonight.
Okay.
As a quick point of clarification, thank you very much for those comments. I didn't have anything as much to do with this as Faith and her team did. They had a tremendous lift. They've gone through, 5, 6, 7 iterations of this budget. That tax rate will not support the Pinecroft Sedgefield Fire Department fully. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
But that's not what you had in your budget information.
No, I said that we would have to fully do that, we would have to fund it at 69 cents.
No, that's not in your budget. That's not what you've got in your budget statement that you provided to us.
As I said, we got late-breaking information this afternoon with the tax rate differentials. The budget message has slightly different information. It was 69.38, something like that. But at this particular juncture, 69 cents would be required to fully fund that without absorbing it. Now, the council has a decision to make. They can absorb it, but it pushes you further and further towards that financial cliff that I'm trying to recommend that you not get closer to. That's my only.
Well, I guess my concern is I'm confused now with the information that you and the finance director have provided to us on the budget statement in terms of what we're generating or projecting in the way of revenues, what's being covered in the way of expenses. And what I'm looking at, based off of the budget that you provided to us, that would account for a 65.5 cent property tax rate or holding the line next year. When I'm looking at the line item budget, I'm seeing an amount budgeted in this item and approved for $1,374,000 for the fire department. I'm seeing a number in here for the sheriff's department of $475,000. I'm seeing a total revenue input of $9,797,848 and expenditures matching $9,797,848,000. So again, I don't know what's getting lost in translation with your own numbers, but your budget statement clearly says that within the scope of funding the budget at 65.5, since on the 100 valuation, you're able to accommodate everything that we've asked for in the budget, and that's why, and it's also reflected in your budget ordinance that you provided to us.
The budget message that has been the most recent.
I'm not talking about the budget message. I'm talking about the actual ordinance, and I'm talking about the details you provided on Friday.
So I think I was very clear in the budget message that there is a decision that the council needs to make. And that's fine. I just want to be clear that we're not fully funding the fire department at 65.5 cents. The town will have to absorb that rate increase. So that will push you in a more difficult position in the future. That's all.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable with the numbers. I'm comfortable with the fund balance allocation. Again, like I mentioned, when you compare and contrast what we're looking at in this budget relative to fund balance need, being, if you wanted to add it all up, $430,000. Of that, $186,000 is designated reserve funding coming from PAL bill. The general fund, I will call it the unassigned fund balance contribution, is $244,000 right now in this budget. Last year's council appropriated an amount of, see if I can find this right quick. Last year's council appropriated an amount of $735,000 in the general fund unassigned fund balance appropriation, according to the budget ordinance. The year before that, the council appropriated $1,045,000 in fund balance appropriation. So again, part of what's concerned me all along is, yeah, I know that we're using fund balance to balance the budget, but it's no different than what we've done in the past. The numbers in the past have been order of magnitude 70 to 120% higher than what we're proposing. I don't know that in the past I read anything about such a sort of dire situation by using fund balance to balance the budget. But, you know, with all that said, I'm comfortable, you know, personally in terms of where we're at and what we're doing with this particular budget based off of the information that you provided to us. And I would just say I hope it's all correct.
Thank you.
So now I'm confused, Faith. The 65.5, when you created a budget based with that number, it included the full fund for the?
Yes.
Okay. I think I'm confused again.
Exactly, and I don't know where this is coming from, because I'm looking at the 65.5, I was under, so, let me just get this straight. 65.5 is gonna fully fund the fire department.
We're just absorbing. Normally, we don't do that. In the past, we've always did a pass-through. You know, if the fire district tax went up, we would go up just to fund that. However, we're just giving you a couple options. You can either, one, absorb it and leave the rate at 65.5, or if you want to pass it through, the rate would be 69.
And if we absorb it, what is the cost that's coming? Is it the 260? Is that correct?
No, it would, okay. So this budget season that we're in, it's $1,098,000. Ultimately, the contract's going up around $358,000 more, roughly.
I'll
be able to fund them.
I'm confused that that was 264.
I'm talking about the budget season we're in right now, 25, 26.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. So the difference between this one and the one that we're proposing for next year is around $358,000.
And that would be the part we'd be absorbing. The 65.5 pays for everything except
No,
that, but that's including us absorbing that.
It
Yes,
pays
it's
for that.
absorbing it. Right.
Uses fund balance to balance the budget.
Yes.
Just a little historical information. Over the years, this has been discussed by previous councils many years ago. One of the things when Judy was the finance director has started to recognize is that
if we continue to try to absorb Pinecroft Sedgefield's district tax increases, it puts us in a position that we're going to have to go up on taxes. If you are passing it through, you have a clear path of why you're passing it through. The citizens of the town of Jamestown would be paying the same fire district tax rate that a county resident would pay. So I just wanted to, it's just a point of clarification. It's not anything to be contentious. It's something that you can, Faith built this budget so that you could absorb it if you needed to, but I'm saying the more fiscally responsible thing would be to pass that through. That's just my only point.
Yeah, if all said and done, and, you know, we always have audit, you know, they're the ones that give us our final fund balance number. But if all said and done, at the end of the fiscal year for 27, we'd be around 54.32%.
54%? I just want to make sure I got that.
That's with the 65.5?
Yes, ma'am.
But does that number account for any excess revenues that might flow into the fund balance at the end of this year?
No, we have to go through audit to be able to do that.
Right.
They're the ones that give us our total fund balance once all the numbers are in and the audit's complete.
Okay, so if we did the 65.5, the projection right now is that our fund balance remaining would be at 54-ish%.
Yes, ma'am.
And our policy is 40%, right? So.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And again, that doesn't account for any kind of excess revenues that may flow into the budget the past couple of years. One year was like $700,000, one year was approximately $1 million. And again, it doesn't mean that the number won't be tighter this year, but, you know.
We typically, yes, thank you for that point of clarification as well. We typically do have money that flows back in, but I want Faith to address, you say $700 or $1 million that comes back in.
There are times when we don't get projects done during that fiscal year. I always use Oakdale sidewalk as an example because that's the easiest one for everyone to understand. So phase 1 of Oakdale sidewalk, we're using general fund balance to fund that. So if we don't finish this project this year, any money that is left to do that project will be reappropriated in July so that we can continue working with the project. And you'll see it go in, but then you'll see it come right back out.
Thank you.
And Faith, when, with the, when the estimate of what we'll receive from property taxes, is that based on houses that are currently, or, all properties, not just houses, but properties that are currently in the town?
Yes, ma'am, and I contacted Guilford County because I wanted updated numbers for what we received in fiscal year 25-26. I wanted to make sure that I had accurate numbers from the county when I figured up for the new Senate Bill 889.
Yeah.
And they emailed that to me, and I wanted to make sure I didn't want any second guessing, so.
So it doesn't do projections of new builds?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
The dashboard does, and you can see, I gave each one of you a copy. I didn't get this completed in time to get it in the packet. That's why it's laying at your desk today.
That's fine.
But you can see over the next, 4 fiscal years, what it would possibly look like.
Okay.
And, revals happen, so it changes.
But those properties, they're going to be more, their property tax, we're going to collect more close to what the market value is, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay.
And it usually takes about a year for that to get caught up by the time it gets in the tax record and all of that.
Okay, thanks, Faith.
This estimate's also based on a 98% collection rate, and we have it 99.7. So I know that it's a conservative estimate, and actually it would be a decrease a little from last year right now if we went with that, conservative estimate, and I don't think we're going to have a decrease from last year in property tax.
I try to take into account refunds, if refunds happen, if someone, let's say someone doesn't pay their property tax, you may not always receive revenue for those. So I take into account that. When it comes to revenues. I want to be a little fiscally responsible and not try to inflate revenue numbers that we may not get.
Absolutely.
It is a best practice that is endorsed by both the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, and the Local Government Commission, the LGC, is for us not to overestimate our revenues, but for us to underestimate those and be very conservative. And we can bring you that budget. My job is to give you a budget that is executable, but it is the council's budget, it is the council's vote, and so it is up to the council to determine that finally, yes.
I think I would just really like to sort of start talking about this more from a going forward. Let's see how we can work on reducing expenses more than we seem to be doing. There's just, sorry to sound this, it just feels like it's sort of ask and you receive, rather than, I know in a good, in a company with good managers and directors, it's about more than having the money and spending it and identifying your needs. You also manage the expenses and the efficiency and how much you spend. And you can't, sometimes that means cutting back in places and really knowing how to look at what you have to spend, whether that be the planning director or the public services director or parks. And I guess the thing is, I know that there was in the version you gave us online, Matthew, there were some towns comparisons that were included in that packet. You didn't discuss it tonight, but I looked at those and added them sort of to a comparison I already had going, and the towns were Wahlberg, Trinity, Gibsonville, Elon, Archdale, Louisville, Lexington, Clemens, and Thomasville. So other small towns, maybe a little bigger than us. And on that information that was in the packet, it was their general fund expenditures for fiscal year 2025. So when I looked at everyone, and then I already had, believe it or not, the number of full-time employees that every town has. And we have an incredibly high expenditure per resident compared to those other towns. It's way much, so much higher. In fact, if I had a monitor, I was going to put this up on the monitor, and instead I just kind of printed it out so that maybe y'all would like to see, because it would have us spending $2,020 per resident for expenditure in general fund expenditures compared to, let's say, okay, a town, Wahlberg has 3,300 residents, $294 a resident. Trinity has 7,267 residents. They spend $434 a resident. Elon, $847 a resident. But again, Jamestown, $2,020 a resident. That's a big difference in how much you spend out of your general fund per resident. And it's only to just illustrate that I do think a lot of your estimates are very conservative, perhaps. And that's great, I'm sure, best practices and all that. I just see it as being a little bit too conservative, and I'd asked the question about the subscriptions and fees this afternoon. Why are we doubling the amount we're paying for subscriptions and subscription fees, I guess, and the amount for dues and subscriptions from like $80,000 for both to $160,000. It just seems very easy for you guys to just kind of plop in $80,000 or $100,000. I know, I saw your eyes. But we just, when it gets to us, we're just getting that round number. We don't see the thought behind it or the paperwork or the decision making. And so we're still I just still kind of feel like I'm operating with, one eye or half of my brain, because I just don't know enough to be able to feel like I'm truly participating in the budget and trying to make things more efficient and making sure that their money is being spent, the way it should be or efficiently.
I have to say for the record, though, that I've watched the staff cut their budgets over and over again, and I've watched her sit in her office and redo this budget multiple times. So I know she takes it seriously, as does everyone else. Appreciate that. But we have worked really hard on it.
So, Madam Mayor, I would like to just put a motion on the table that we adopt a budget ordinance for fiscal year 26-27, which would effectively fund everything that we've talked about this evening and hold the property tax rate flat at 65.5 cents per 100 valuation.
All right, do I hear a second?
With the addition of the music in the park.
Yeah, addition of music in the park.
The Civic Center technology.
Civic Center technology and elimination of the lobbyists.
That's right, okay.
Wait, say that again, I'm sorry. I was reading.
I made a motion.
Sorry, I was reading something.
I made a motion that we basically adopt the budget ordinance for fiscal year 26-27 that would effectively set the property tax rate at 65.5 cents per 100 valuation based off the information that we've talked about this evening and the information that's been shared with us by staff. And what we agreed to about the changes with music in the park and addition of the Civic Center technology and elimination of the lobbyist.
Yeah, I second. But wait a second. The only thing is, I would, back to your question, Matthew. At the 65.5, you're saying that that's not going to fully fund the fire department.
So I want to be clear, Faith has included enough money to cover that at the 65.5-cent rate. It does put you in a predicament going forward if you continue to try to absorb those rate increases.
Now I'm comfortable at 65.5.
Okay, so there's a second. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Councilmember Glanville?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibson?
No.
Councilmember Burgess?
Yes.
Councilmember Westmoreland?
Yes.
Motion passes. I'll also need a motion to adopt the resolution for the capital improvement plan as well.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution for the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 26-27.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. And, let's see here.
Before we move on, I just also want to reiterate that, and Susan, I do appreciate you've done some work, and these are, things I've thought about in the past, but I do want to also point out that I know that our staff has gone above and beyond to try to cut expenses. I mean, we saw it with them doing their own construction out at the golf course and, trying to find free mulch and all this kind of thing. So I know that they really do try very hard to keep their expenses as low as possible. So.
Right, yeah, and this was not meant, I'm sorry if it sounded that way, but I just learned a little bit more about, actually, Matthew, through some of the emails today. What I've seen, you're very conservative in the numbers, and that's fine, but I feel like we might have more room there than, it is, I'm seeing on paper, that's it. So.
Yeah, the only other comment I had on the budget, just to close it out for me, is I do, again, respectfully want to request the fire chief and his team to see if they can identify ways for us to potentially be more involved in their budget development process going forward. We've obligated ourselves now for 2 consecutive years to basically increase your budget by about 50% that you're getting from the town. And I do think that, I've gotten questions along the way as we've developed the budget about what does it mean. I feel comfortable in explaining to them, what you all are doing, appreciate and value the service. But they say, well, it's another 26% or 25% this year. It was 26% last year. And you're telling me that effectively you just got to pay what they're asking for each year. And so with that, I would just, again, just ask if there's a way for us to have, some more advanced discussions about your particular needs, that would be very helpful, at least from my perspective, as I'm trying to respond to questions in the community. But again, appreciate your service, appreciate the service of the sheriff and his department. I know I did see some information today from Matthew that was provided based off of a recent presentation that the department provided to the county commissioners to talk about our contract services and costs. Very appreciative for that, very appreciative of the fact that he'll be here on Thursday, or the team will be here on Thursday to hold a town hall. And again, I've only got one final question, which I won't bring up at that meeting. We'll let the town hall be the town hall, but still sort of trying to understand how our Guilford County property taxes are applied to patrol services in Jamestown, and sort of looking at the numbers on the information I saw today, it would pin out to be about $79,000 worth of tax support that we provide for patrol services that's outside of the contract, and I just don't know how that's accounted for. But anyway, just thank you both. Public safety remains a priority of mine in this town, and we're going to continue to work in partnership together to make sure that we're able to meet the needs of the community. So thank you.
Thank you. And I also want to say thank you to everyone. It has been a tough budget season, and I think that for our new sitting council members, I think just in conversation individually, and even for myself, I think that some of us are just not number crunchers, or some of us want just things itemized a little bit easier. So maybe next year we could work on gathering information that will make the budget a little bit simpler to understand. I know you're great at what you do. I may not be, but I'm just saying,
information
I'm
from
just
the
saying.
department heads.
Yeah, maybe formatting or something like that. I mean, I'm just sharing what has been a concern.
I think it's been said 50 times tonight. I appreciate what the staff has done in doing this. We all had to go through the same process. It's a learning process with some changes at the last minute, so I appreciate the efforts of giving us that information. I too, like Mr. Westmoreland, encourage us to continue to look at some of these things on the budget moving forward for next year's budget, not this one, obviously. But we talk about our appreciation for all the things that folks have done, and I would like for us to continue to look at ways to reward folks like that under a system that we put together, so that it's something that we can all understand, explain, and defend, so that we're not eliminating something entirely while we're in that process. So I would appreciate if we could do that next time as well. But thank you, and I realize that we didn't all get all the things that people wanted on this side and that side, and from this point of view and that point of view, but it's one of those things that we'll continue to work and find out. If this doesn't work right, then we'll continue to go back. It's not something that's set in stone for future years, but thank you.
All right. Old business. Let's move on. Public hearing for the consideration. Oh, no, that's.
Nope, the strategic.
No, we moved.
Yeah, we deferred the strategic, we're on the new business.
We're gonna defer that.
Strike that, yeah. New business. There it is. Here's the new business right there.
And I'm just scheduling meetings, so this should be pretty easy.
All right. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
I'll get with the first one. A petition for rezoning has been received and reviewed by Planning Board. The staff recommend that council set a public hearing date for consideration of the rezoning for the parcel located at 4909 Guilford College Road, parcel 156695 for the July 21st, 2026 regular meeting at 6 p.m. at the council chambers. As Councilmember Glanville stated, there was a planning board hearing. It was unanimously not recommended, even though it is consistent with the plan. Just wanted to let you know, also the property is being rezoned from agricultural to conditional zoning, single-family residential. That request is being made by Harvest Church. They just want to acquire the property next door.
Okay, I make a motion to set a public hearing date for the consideration of a rezoning request for the property located at 4909 Guilford College Road from agriculture to conditional zoning single-family residential for the July 21st Town Council meeting at 6 p.m. in the council chambers at Town Hall.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. And then on to my favorite subject.
Wait, I think there's a second.
Yeah, I think that's what.
Did you get the second, Katie?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, all right.
We're good.
All right, next up, similarly, I'm scheduling a meeting. The town council's request is to schedule a public hearing for the July 21st, 2026 meeting to consider adoption of LDO text amendment related to flood damage prevention, updated FEMA flood insurance rate maps, firms, and associated flood hazard data. The updated maps and ordinance guidelines are being issued by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, as part of their statewide floodplain mapping update process. Adoption of the LDO text amendment and updated floodplains prior to the effective date is necessary to maintain the town's participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. We are bringing Matthew Stillwagon. He is an NFIP planner with the Division of Emergency Management, so he will be here to address your questions. And of course, we'll have briefings. I've seen your emails, so we'll make sure that we have briefings so you understand this compliance item. Ultimately, this is a compliance item, but we'll have plenty of briefings to discuss this.
Thank you, that's great. All
So
righty.
we need a motion I'd like to make a motion to set a public hearing date for the consideration of LDO text amendments to Articles 3, 7, and 18 regarding flood damage prevention for FEMA compliance and adoption of revised firm maps.
I second.
For the June 21st.
Oh, yeah.
Town council meeting at
No,
6
July.
p.m. in the Civic
July 21st.
Council chambers.
July 21st.
Yes.
All right, second, Pam, second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, anyone sign up for public comments here at the end of the show?
Nobody signed up.
And other business? Do we have any other business?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we go into closed session per GS 143-318 to discuss a matter related to attorney-client privilege. Case number 26CV010668-400.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Right. we're back in session.
I make a motion that we return to open session.
And a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Okay, and then now how about a motion to adjourn?
I make a
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good night.